All right, everybody, today's topic is budgeting. I know, don't click off just yet. It's a word that carries a lot of negative connotations, but I have officially been using a written budget now for a year, so I thought that I would do a video to talk about that and why I think that they're a good thing. Don't mind the small dog behind me chewing on his treat. Hopefully he'll be quiet enough long enough for me to get this video filmed, and I'll apologize in advance if this is a little like stream of consciousness, but whenever I have an idea for a video, I'll write it down in a notebook, and then I'll have more thoughts about what to video, and I just write everything down in randomness. So here's my notes for today's video. Yeah, sorry if it's a little hodgepodge today, but budgeting. So I've been doing it for a year now, and before I actually used a written budget, I thought that my mental budgeting counted, but it really doesn't. And it doesn't because when you use a mental budget, it forces you to, remember mentally when your bills are due, which bills come out of what paycheck, and then, you're forced to pay all of those bills, and then whatever's left over, your immediate next thought is, okay, how much is left to spend? But that's sort of the wrong way to think about money. Using a mental budget, it forces you to keep that paycheck to paycheck mindset. And if you're trying to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, then using a written budget will help. And when you're using a mental budget and your paycheck to paycheck mindset and, okay, I've paid everything, how much is left to spend, that's putting you in the defensive position instead of an offensive position with your money. It's sort of a scarcity mindset. And if you're using a mental budget, then eventually, you're bound to forget something, or something will pop up and just throw your budget off. And then, you're forced to default to, say, a credit card to pay a bill, or take care of whatever comes up unexpectedly if you don't have an emergency fund saved up. And even if you don't forget things, then you'll just have random bills that come due. Like me, I'm waiting on this medical bill for me having my iron transfusions. I have no idea how much that's going to be, but whenever it comes up, I'm going to try to cash flow it. Hopefully I won't have to dig into my emergency fund for it. So yeah, mental budgets don't count. Don't fight the budget. I fought a written budget for a long time. Embrace it. It'll help you. And there's a lot of different formats that you can use. I personally like to use Google Sheets, but some people use Excel. You need a budget, every dollar, mint.com. I use Mint to track my net worth. I like it pretty good. And it has a budgeting feature, but I don't really like it for the budgets. When you use a written budget, it's, you can overall track your progress with your debt or whatever financial goal you're trying to meet visually, and that's helpful. It's really good for staying motivated and for planning for the future. It helps you to focus. Some people will do an annual budget or a 5-year budget, to forecast how long it's going to take them to reach a certain goal. I haven't gotten there yet, but I first started using a written budget in October of 2017, so it's been a year, and so far so good. Other benefits for me, for example, now that I have a written budget, I can go through each tab. I have, since I use Google Sheets, I make a new tab every month, and I can go through at the end of the year, tally up what my expenses are for certain items. Like for me, I'm calculating this year how much I spend on my vitamins and whey protein, just so I can have an idea of about how much that costs me on an annual basis. Also keeping track of all of my alcohol spending, because I'm trying to get out of debt here, so I gotta be reasonable when it comes to my spending on whiskey. But you can track whatever you feel your large expenses are throughout the year. Say you struggle with going out to eat too much or something, you could keep track of that on an annual basis and see how much you spend. So Also, when you keep a written budget on an annual basis, you can keep track of about how much your utility costs are going to cost every month. Like I can, now that I've been doing it for a year, I can go back on my budget from last year and look and see how much the electric bill was. Where are you going? Sorry, y'all. I can go back to last year's budget and see how much my electric bill and my water bill and all of that stuff was last year, so I can get an idea of how much it should be this year. You know, taxes that are due annually. My life insurance comes due every 6 months. I pay my car insurance every 6 months. Having a written budget helps me not to forget that. So actual numbers, since I have been budgeting for a year now, last year, my total principal amount of consumer debt that I owed, this does not include the house, last October was $88,472.95, and now my principal balance due is $68,182.47. That's a difference of $20,290.48 in 1 year. That's principal difference. That's not even counting, you know, the amount that went to interest. The total that I've paid to debt since October of last year is $26,359.29. So, you know, it doesn't take but just a minute or two for me to bring up my budget and do these little calculations to figure out how much debt I've paid off, and it's really motivating to keep moving forward when I see that. I decided to calculate how much of my money that I bring home, my net pay, how much has gone to debt in the last year, and it's 62.5% of my net pay has gone to paying off my consumer debt. And that is, I mean, that's awesome. If I could keep that up once I'm out of debt, you know, then I could reach financial independence pretty soon. And that amount that I've paid towards debt does not include the house payment. If you include the house payment in the amount that I've put towards debt, it's probably, sorry, the bell's ringing because he wants to go outside. But if you count the house payment in with all of my debt, then it's probably closer to 80% that I have been putting towards debt, which, I mean, that's awesome. I'm trying to get out of debt as quick as I can, and, you know, seeing that is just motivation to keep going and to stay the course. You know, I started this YouTube channel to sort of hold myself accountable and keep going because budget burnout's real. It happens. And if you're like me and a reformed, sort of mindless spender, and you say, you know, okay, I'm going to really do it this time. I'm going to get out of debt. Pause. I'll be back. Okay, sorry, I had to let the puppies out because he was not going to be patient for me. But like I was saying, if you're like me and you are a reformed, sort of just mindless spender, you know, don't really know where your paychecks are going, you just keep running on the hamster wheel, paying your bills and spending your money mindlessly, and you decide that you're going to actually get serious about getting out of debt, but you don't want to use a written budget, say, no, I'm just going to put as much money as I can towards debt and I'm going to get it paid off. I guarantee you, if you just mentally say that and you're like, I'm going to put 62.5% of my net pay towards my debt, you're going to get budget burnout so fast, you'll give up. I mean, it's just, budget burnout is happening for me. That's why I started this YouTube channel, to keep myself accountable and to keep myself going forward. If I didn't have my written budget to look back on and see how far I've come, then yeah, it would be easy to sort of slip back into old habits and say, well, you know, I've done so well for so long, then sure, I deserve to go shopping today and just mindlessly spend money. But a budget helps you stay on track. People think of it as a restrictive thing, and I suppose it can be. You know, if you make a budget that's too tight, that is just too hard for you to stick to every month, then yeah, you're probably going to give up on it after a while. My suggestion would be, when you first start budgeting, to be a little bit liberal with the budget. Give yourself a little spending money. Give yourself a little cushion for when things come up that you forget about. That way, you can be more successful with it. And since this video is getting a little bit long now, I'm going to just stop it here. And yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on budgeting. You see a lot of YouTube videos out there, people talking about budgets as far as just, numbers and why you need them to help you get out of debt. But it's not just about the numbers, and it's not just about getting out of debt. Budgets will help you reach your financial goals, and they can be an excellent mental tool for motivation and for focus, to keep your goals in sight and to keep your progress measured. So I will see you guys in the next video.